Sometimes it's really nice to be able to create your own DIY decor because you made it and it has a lot of personal meaning to you. But if you're not quite sure where to get started for your fall decorating, I have put together some very easy DIY decor projects that you can make for fall 2024 using things that you get at the Dollar Tree. So let's get started.
It all just goes away. The things I plan to say, oh baby.
Now I found this cute little pumpkin at my local Dollar Tree, and while it's really cute, I wanted to see if I could make this look a little bit better. The flowers are not horrible, so I will definitely save those for another project, but I'm going to go ahead and take those out of this pumpkin. So I am going to do the same type of floral arrangement in this pumpkin, but I want to make it a little bit bigger. So first I'm going to increase the size of the hole that's in the pumpkin, and I just used an X-Acto knife. I think this is a Fisker's X-Acto knife, but I made the hole a little bit larger. And while I really do like this pumpkin, I like the glitter and everything on it, I want to change it to a more neutral green. So this is Mossy Meadow by Folk Art. So I'm taking some of that acrylic paint and I'm going to apply one coat of paint all over the pumpkin. I'm trying to go a little more neutral this year, so I want to do a lot of sagey type greens and more of a cream color. I really like that look. I think it looks really nice, and I wanted to incorporate more of that into my decorating this year. So once I finished painting the pumpkin with that sage green, then I came back with some white, and this is just white acrylic paint, and I just put that over top of the sage green. And there was no rhyme or reason to what I was doing. I just put some white paint on. Then I came back with a dry chip brush and just blended that green and the white together. This gives the pumpkin a little bit of definition, and I really like how the white and the green flow together. And after the pumpkin had completely dried, then I came back with a coat of matte finish Mod Podge. And I really like the look that this will give to the end project. And I'm really lucky, my Dollar Tree is getting a lot of their fall products in right now. So all of these flowers came from the Dollar Tree. So I have these little sunflowers. So these are a smaller sunflower. And I separated out each of the stems and then placed them into the larger opening of the pumpkin. Then I came back with, I don't know what these are called. I think they're willow. I don't know, but they're really pretty and definitely give a fall vibe to my floral arrangement. Next, I took a few fern fronds that were on another group of flowers and I cut them down so that they're smaller, so about a quarter of the fern frond. And then I just hot glued those to the pumpkin. This is a really simple project that you can get done probably in about a half an hour, and that includes the drying time for the paint as well as the Mod Podge. And once I had used all of the sunflowers from the smaller bunch of sunflowers, then I did come back with two larger sunflowers, and yes, these are from the Dollar Tree as well, and I just added those to my arrangement. And that is pretty much it. Like I said, this is a really simple project that you can do in probably about a half an hour. And why I like this is you can take an idea and then you can personalize it to fit into your decorating theme. Now for this next project, I'm going to be making a pumpkin. So I've got two of these wooden crates from the Dollar Tree and I'm going to glue them together. But first I've got to remove the tag on the back. And thankfully the tags are coming off these wood products really easily right now. So I took some Dollar Tree wood glue and I put that around all four sides of one of the crates. And then I carefully brought the two crates together. And then I applied a little bit of pressure to really help them to join together. After they were completely dry, I came back with some orange paint, and I believe this was from Deco Art. I think this was orange spice, but I am not 100% sure. But I painted the crates with the orange paint. And I made sure to paint both the front and the back, both sides, and the top of the two crates. I did that with the orange first, and then I came back with my favorite brown, which is burnt umber, and I just drew some lines onto the crates. Now, to me, I can really see this looking like a pumpkin. And I like the different shades of the brown and the orange that I get by blending these two paints together. If you don't like doing something like that, you can use different colors, or you don't have to blend two colors, but this is what it looks like when it's all done. So I did decide to make a pumpkin stem out of some jute twine, and I love how this pumpkin stem turned out. I think I'm going to show you in an upcoming video, but I just secured that to the top of the crates. Now that pumpkin stem will actually cover up both of those holes on the top. And now all I have to do is add a little bit of embellishing. So I started off with some Spanish moss, and yes, this is from the Dollar Tree. I've been really happy with the Spanish moss that I've gotten from Dollar Tree. Next, I had some burlap type ribbon, and what I did was just cut some leaf shapes into the ribbon, and then I secured that to the top of my pumpkin as well. I really like how that's looking so far. Next, I took some more of the burlap ribbon that I had, and I believe I got this at Hobby Lobby, and I just cut off one side because I really like how it's kind of frayed on one edge. And then I cut some pieces of that, and I also secured that to the top of my pumpkin. Then I took some paper covered wire. I love this stuff. If you wrap it around a paintbrush, you can make like little tendrils. And the smaller the paintbrush, the tighter the little curly Q is going to be. So I just took some of those little curly Qs and I put those onto my pumpkin as well. And I didn't show you, but I put some orange twine and also a little raffia bow. I put those at the top of the pumpkin too. Then I made some corkscrew curly Qs, whatever you want to call it, out of some pip berries, and attached those to the top of the pumpkin with some hot glue. And then I found this little acorn. I think this was a part of a Dollar Tree garland. So I thought about putting two on top, but I decided on just one. Next, I took some faux greenery pieces. And this is why I don't throw anything away, because I can always use these little pieces for projects. So I put some of the little greenery on top, and then I also added in another sunflower. And there's my pumpkin. I love how this pumpkin turned out, and I really, really like my pumpkin stem. I think I'm going to have to try to paint one on my next pumpkin and see how it looks. But overall, I really like this pumpkin. I know it's been done before, but that's what's so fun with projects like this, because you can personalize it to whatever you want it to be. And I don't know if you saw my little pumpkin spice sign in the background, but I figured I better show you how to do this. This is really easy. I got this gold frame at Dollar Tree, and what I'm going to do is just put some Mod Podge onto the backing of it. And I'm going to use this scrapbooking paper that's very fall-like, and I'm going to secure it to the back of the picture frame, which will be the side of the picture frame that you'll be seeing. And once the Mod Podge had dried, then I came back and just used a scissors to cut that scrapbooking paper down to just the frame itself. And the Dollar Tree has so many wonderful fall window clings. So what I did next was I took Mod Podge and I painted that on top of my scrapbook paper. Then I chose which of the window clings I wanted to use, and I just put it on top of the scrapbook paper. Now, I wanted to make sure that this was lined up and that there were no air bubbles. So I used my Cricut roller, my brayer tool, I think this is what it's called, just to make sure there was no air pockets on the sign. And I did not do a coat of Mod Podge on the top of this window cling. I left it just like this. Then I tied a little shoestring bow out of some jute twine. And I wasn't quite sure if I wanted to put it at the top or the bottom of the picture. And I decided on the top, and I secured it in place with a little bit of hot glue. And then all I had to do was put the picture back into the frame. And my project is complete. And again, like all of the projects that I'm sharing with you today, this is very easy to do. And can you see all of the possibilities of things that you can create using Dollar Tree window clings? Oh my goodness, I love this. Okay, so this is a Dollar Tree wreath hanger. They have these all of the time, but they're pretty plain. So I took a Dollar Tree metal pumpkin and I'm going to put that onto the wreath hanger. But first I have to get that post off of the pumpkin. And thankfully it did break off pretty easily. Sometimes they are very hard to get off. Thankfully this one was fairly easy to remove. So I just moved it back and forth until the bottom portion came off. And look at that, I have a very pretty white pumpkin that I'm going to secure to my wreath hanger. Now I want this to be a permanent bond. So I took some tumbling tower blocks and I took some E6000 and I put E6000 onto the tumbling tower blocks. And I also did a little bit of hot glue for that instant stick. And I put the tumbling tower blocks onto the center of the pumpkin. Then I repeated the process with the tumbling tower blocks, but this is the side that's going to be secured to the wreath hanger. So I did 2 little drops of the E6000 on each tumbling tower block. Then I came back with a drop of the hot glue. And then I just carefully made sure that it was going to measure up onto the wreath hanger. And I have seen wreath hangers like this at Hobby Lobby and places like that, but I just love how this looks. And I think this will be so pretty hanging on my front door with one of my fall wreaths that I'm going to be making this year. So for a little over $2.50, you can make a really fancy wreath hanger for your front door for your fall decorating. I love all of the boxes that the Dollar Tree has. You can do so many things with these. So with this one, I'm going to make this a wooden planter. I really like the size of this one. I think it's going to be perfect. So I'm just going to take some craft sticks and I'm going to put them on all 4 sides going around the box. So I started by cutting off one end of the craft sticks. And I wasn't sure how many craft sticks I was going to use for this project, so I just cut a whole bunch of them. And then I measured how long the sticks needed to be for each side of the rectangle box. And then I cut the rest of the craft stick down to size. So I'm left with the remaining little stick that's going to go onto the box. And then I just secured each of those pieces onto the box. And for whatever reason, I did have to cut one of the craft sticks down a little bit so that it would fit. Next, I took another craft stick and I measured off how much I would have to cut off one end because I want to put a craft stick going the opposite direction on the top and the bottom of this box. And this is so cute. Can you see how that almost looks like a window box? So once I was done, this is what my little box planter looked like. Now there were a little bit of gaps, especially on the corners of the box where the craft sticks didn't quite meet up. So I did use my hot glue gun and fill in those cracks with a little bit of hot glue, and then I smoothed it down using one of those finger protectors from the Dollar Tree. Now, if you were going to be staining this, which you could do, I would probably use like wood filler, maybe not hot glue because that's not going to stain very well. But for my box, I'm just going to be using some acrylic paint, so the hot glue actually worked really well. It's almost like the hot glue is caulking for the box. And I did want to raise up this box a bit, so I did glue some wooden beads onto the bottom. Then I had this Waverly chalk paint, and the color is truffle. And I just painted everything that was wood with this truffle chalk paint. It would probably be really pretty white too, but I want this to have more of a rich color for my fall decorating, which was why I decided to use the truffle paint. And I did go ahead and paint the top edge, which I had filled in with the hot glue. And I painted down a little bit into the box as well. And once it was dry, this is how it turned out. And I always have Dollar Tree floral foam, so I took a chunk of that and I put some glue onto it, and then I secured it into the box. This is where I will be attaching my flowers to my arrangement. I love making floral arrangements for fall. It is so much fun. And the fall colors to me really help these faux florals not look so faux. And I did get all of these flowers at the Dollar Tree. And I did get some more of those willow branches. They work really well for fall floral arrangements. And here is the end product. And I did add a couple of Dollar Tree pumpkins. I really like this. I think it turned out great, and I'm so excited to use this for my decorating. I love how the planter turned out, and who would even think that that is a Dollar Tree box? Now this project, I had this terracotta planter from the Dollar Tree that I got, I think, a year ago. And I also had these half wooden beads. So what I did was just secure the half wooden beads around the top edge of the flower pot. My spacing actually worked out pretty well this time. But I wanted this to have more of a stone appearance, so I took some gray chalk paint that I've had forever, and I just really needed to use it. So I took the gray paint and I painted the entire flower pot and all of the wooden beads with the gray chalk paint. And next I came back with some white acrylic paint while the gray was still wet, and I just painted on that white paint. There is no rhyme or reason to how I was doing this, but I do like doing this type of painting when you add multiple colors and they're wet. So the colors are going to blend together. I just really like that look. And to me, it gives it a more authentic look, a more, I don't know, vintage look. I don't know, but I don't like just one solid color. I like the colors blending together. And once I had enough of that white acrylic paint covering the gray, then with the chip brush, I came back and just kind of pounced the paint on. And while the flower pot was drying, I decided to work on the pumpkin part of this project. And I have this apple barrel paint. This is antique parchment. So I just put some of that into a cup, and then I added some salt wash. If you haven't used salt wash before, this is so much fun to add a lot of texture to any project that you're working on. So I wanted to see if by adding some of this salt wash, I could get rid of that line a little bit around the center of the pumpkin. Yes, it's always going to look like a foam pumpkin, but I thought this might help it look a little more higher end and not so Dollar Tree. And another thing that I did was add a coat of Mod Podge to the pumpkin once all of the paint had dried. The matte finish Mod Podge gives it more of a satin look. And again, I think that gives it more of a high-end look and not so much of a Dollar Tree foam pumpkin. So now my flower pot is dry and I love how that looks. So I'm going to take some of my Dollar Tree foam and put it into the center of the pot. And yes, I did have some more Dollar Tree Spanish moss that I pushed down into the pot. And when my pumpkin was all dry, then I came back with my little Fiskars cutting tool and I took the stem off. And I took another stem that I had made with some jute twine and I used that for my pumpkin. Isn't that cute? Then all I had to do was secure the pumpkin to the flower pot, so I used some hot glue on the bottom of the pumpkin and put the pumpkin onto the floral foam in the pot. I did decide I wanted to add a little bit of something extra, so I took a few more of the green leaves that I always like to save and I hot glued them underneath the pumpkin. And this is how my project turned out. I really do like it. I really do think the salt wash looks great on these foam pumpkins. It doesn't look so styrofoam. And adding in a stem like this one really helps it to look a little higher end than Dollar Tree. You can still see that middle seam, but I think it does look a lot better than it did. And I'm totally into pumpkins right now. So I took some different pumpkins that I had, and I believe all three of these came from the Dollar Tree, and I had painted them before, but I want to create a new type of topiary. So I'm going to paint all of the pumpkins again. That's one thing that I really enjoy, finding these pumpkins at Dollar Tree, because they're very affordable and you can reuse them over and over again depending on what kind of look you're going for in your fall decorating. So I did use the antique parchment for the largest pumpkin. Then I came back with some deco art. I believe this is orange spice and some white paint. And I just painted it randomly onto the middle size pumpkin, which will be in the middle of my topiary. And for the tiny pumpkin, I used some raw sienna as well as some white paint. And again, I did not blend them together because I really like how that looks on the pumpkin as I'm painting it on. It gives different textures, different colors, and I think it adds a lot of dimension to these little fake pumpkins. And I needed a pot for my topiary to sit in. So this is just like a muffin tin, I believe. It's in the kitchen section at the Dollar Tree, and you get 2 of them for $1.25. But I didn't want it to be white, so I took some burnt umber matte paint. I believe this is apple barrel, and I painted it and allowed it to dry. Then I came back with a little bit of Dollar Tree floral foam and secured that to the center. And then I used Spanish moss around the edges and pushed it down into the muffin cup, added a little bit of hot glue, and then started stacking my pumpkins. I did the largest pumpkin on the bottom, and then I put a little more Spanish moss on top of that pumpkin. I came back with my middle pumpkin, which is the orange one. secured that one to the Spanish moss that's on top of the white pumpkin. Added some more hot glue to the top of the second pumpkin. And some more Spanish moss. And I just realized I forgot to paint the pumpkin stem. Now I did leave the original pumpkin stem on this tiny little pumpkin because I didn't think it would make that much of a difference. Then after I put some hot glue onto the middle pumpkin, I attached the third pumpkin. And here is my tiny topiary. I really like how this turned out. I love topiaries at fall. I don't know why. I think they look so cute and they are a wonderful addition to any type of decorating that you're doing for fall. And if you've enjoyed this video, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. And if you click the bell notification, you'll get an alert every time I have a new video. I am having so much fun creating these different DIY pieces for my decor this year, and I really hope that I'm inspiring you to try out some of these projects for yourself. They're very affordable, very easy to do, and it's just really fun to get creative and make something, don't you think?